Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is a guide for you to get the wonder weapon for free in Astra Malorum, colloquially known as the Ligma 1. To begin with, you need to activate power and the Pack-a-Punch machine, and you do this by opening up to the observatory and then grabbing two harmonic components from opposite sides of the map and inputting them into the device. If you need a more in-depth guide on this, I've got it linked in the description, but once that's done, your first target is going to be to get an Oscar to spawn in. And my recommendation to start making this happen is to begin doing the steam valves step of the Easter egg. The way this works is you'll have several steam vents in the observatory, but only one of them will have smoke coming out. You're going to need to shoot that vent, and then the steam is going to move to a different vent. You can find the vents sort of at ground level, the level that you're walking around on when you're at the Pack-a-Punch machine, or they can be below you, and that'll be underneath the Pack machine in that little kind of enclosure area, or they can also be above you in the top of the observatory, like above the Pack-a-Punch, where you can see that little walkway area. So start the process by shooting one of the steam vents and then just follow around looking for the next steam vent and shoot it when you see it. And then do this 6 or 7 times. And once completed, you'll see the observatory dome move around a little bit and the telescope will move into place and you'll have completed this little step. Now, during this, in my experience, I always get an Oscar spawn. But if you don't get any Oscar in your game, you might just need to go a couple more rounds and you should then hear Oscar spawn in somewhere. Now, Oscar works differently to most mini-bosses in zombies because he's not going to just chase you down immediately, but he's instead going to follow a predefined route on the map, and you can see him on your minimap marked with this little icon, and you're going to need to go and find him sometimes. He's not going to necessarily know where you are. Now, once you've got your Oscar spawned in, there are 3 things that we need to do with him, and you can do these in any order. I'm just going to show you the order that I did them in my game. So we're first of all going to kill Oscar using the telescope that we've just moved into position using the steam. So the way this works is you bring Oscar into the observatory dome by making him go into combat mode and chasing you down. And then you run over to this little observing eyepiece on the telescope and you interact with it and drag the cursor over to be pointed directly at the sun. A few seconds after you do this, it will kick you out of the eyepiece and a beam of sunlight will come through the telescope and it acts as a trap. And you just need to walk Oscar through that in the 20 or 30 seconds or so that it's beaming. And when you do so, he will explode and that will be your first Oscar kill. You may also find that one of Oscar's UFOs drops onto the floor as a damaged UFO part that you can pick up. Definitely grab that if that does happen here. But it might be that when Oscar spawned in, you already shot one of his UFOs and that caused a damaged UFO to drop. So you'll have to pick it up wherever you shot it in the first place. Just make sure that you grab this part because it will be needed for the rest of the steps that we're going to do. So if you still need it, shoot Oscar's little UFOs and you should get it pretty fast. You then need to go a couple of rounds to get Oscar to spawn in again, and you'll hear his little siren announcing his arrival at the start of the round that he spawns on. But before you get there, you can do a couple of bits and pieces to get ahead and make sure that you're ready once he does spawn. So the first thing you're going to want to do is Pack-a-Punch a gun and then use it to shoot the front of Tessie in the spawn area. And I've been told that you can also melee here as well, but I always do it with a papped gun because it's useful to have one. And when you do this, a car battery will pop out that you can pick up, and a load of zombies will also spawn, so just be careful not to be taken out by them. Then we're going to run around the map and look for a street light that is blinking. There are like a dozen spawns for this. I'm going to show you several spawns now, and I'm just going to mute up while I run through a bunch of them. This is the first one. I didn't get a footage of this one blinking, but it can be blinking. But yeah, let's go through another several spawns now. Here's number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. So like I said, there's a lot of spawns, but if you don't have the spawn that I've shown you in the game here, then just run around the map and look for a blinking streetlight. It should be fairly easy to see, but I'll also add a couple of extra spawns in the description if you get stuck. Once you find your blinking streetlight, shoot it a little bit, and you should see an aberrant wiring part pop out. Pick that up. Then go find an arsenal machine and put Cryo Freeze, the ammo mod, on your weapon. You're then going to need to run around the map and shoot purple crystals with Cryo Freeze, and each time you do this, it's going to give you a little shard part, and you need to do this 3 times so that you get 3 shards total. So by this point, maybe Oscar has spawned back in and you can get started on doing your Luminarium trap. You do need to have also gotten Oscar's damaged UFO part by this point as well, like I mentioned earlier. But once you have that, you're going to go into the Luminarium, you'll go into the room here and hold square to install all the parts. Then you need to guide Oscar inside the room and hold square to activate the trap for free, and it will zap Oscar a bunch and Oscar will then die. Now, I've had some people say that they had some trouble with this step and it wasn't working properly, so I would recommend, as this is happening, to just shoot Oscar's UFOs around him a couple of times, and that's going to mean that the trap can successfully affect him, because otherwise sometimes he's impervious and it can be a bit fiddly. But if you shoot his UFOs, it will expose him to damage and it will make sure that the trap can get the kill on him as it needs to do. We then need to go a couple more rounds to get another Oscar to spawn in, and this time we're going to bring Oscar into the museum. In there, you'll find a rocket mounted on one of the display cabinets, and you want to bring Oscar to the back of that rocket. You're going to then stand at the side of the rocket and hold square, and that's going to start a 5-second countdown sequence. And while that's happening, you want Oscar to basically be at the back of the rocket. And that's because at the end of the countdown, there's going to be a rocket ignition, and it's going to send out a blast of freezing energy, and you want that to hit Oscar. I also quite like shooting his UFO here to sort of stagger him a teeny tiny bit while you're doing this. But the most important thing is that you have him at the back of that rocket when it fires, and if done successfully, because you've already got 2 Oscar kills at this point with the other traps, this third one will actually open up and spit the wonder weapon out when it dies. But if you do this in reverse order, for example, you'll get the wonder weapon from killing Oscar at a different trap because that's the one that you're doing last. So that's how you get the wonder weapon. You may be curious how you use it. This one's not quite as complex as the Necrofluid Gauntlet from Ashes. You first of all have a weapon inspect that looks like this. But you also might have noticed there's actually a little green man inside the gun. Like, it contains an alien, which is kind of crazy. And thinking about it, we had Gorgafex in Reckoning, which was sort of like an infused weapon with a personality. And then we had the Gauntlet in Ashes, which was sort of a weapon with quite a bit of personality. Like, it feels like the head of a Ravager god or something. And now we have this, and again, it's a weapon with a little guy inside it. Like, what is Treyarch doing? Aside from that, though, it's a really unique design. I absolutely love this thing, but it's not the most powerful weapon in the entire world until you realize it does have infinite ammo, just like the Gauntlet did. This means that before pack-a-punching, you're going to burn out that ammo very quickly, but it is just going to restore really fast. And once you pack-a-punch it, it's going to get extra ammo in the magazine, as well as obviously doing extra damage, and that's going to mean that you can spray a little bit more before you have to wait for that recharge. Now, the way it applies damage is also fairly unique for a COD Zombies Wonder Weapon. We've not really had any Wonder Weapons in the past that have worked this way. So basically, it's going to send out a little swarm of UFOs, and those are going to do damage over time continuously to the thing that they are swarming around. This means that, for example, if you decide to use this for the Easter egg boss fight, you can send the swarms of UFOs at the boss, and they can then do a little bit of damage over time to the boss while you switch to your other weapon and spray into it and do a bunch of damage there. So you're kind of double dipping, and this means that it's really effective for high burst if you need to take something out really quickly. Also, now that you've unlocked this weapon, you're actually kind of a third of the way through the Easter egg, so you might as well do it in your game, and I've got my main quest Easter egg guide linked on screen for you to do exactly that. So click through to it, I really recommend it. It's a pretty straightforward Easter egg to get done, and make sure you're subscribed as well so you don't miss these sorts of videos in the future. Thanks folks, bye for now.